All right, can anybody hear me? We've had a few issues this morning, so I just want to make sure you can see me. It's not the good camera, unfortunately. Hello? Anybody out there? Do you see me? Tell me. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Awesome. Okay, welcome guys. So this isn't the camera I wanted to use, but the better one, unfortunately, pooped out a half an hour ago for some reason. This is all new to me, so if we have some glitches, that live is starting as lawnmower. So, okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to use this as a time to kind of get to know each other. We're going to talk about gardening questions that you guys have. And, but really, we've got so many new people, so many new viewers just in the last month, about 75,000 new people. So how many year gardeners with everything that's going on? So go ahead right now and start doing that. Okay, so we've got Ohio. Melissa, you're new to the channel. Are you a new gardener as well? Fabrice. Buffalo. Still cold up there, I bet. Kuwait. Dallas, Texas. Okay, they're saying, some people are saying I keep freezing. Am I keep freezing for you? Canada, Utah, Alabama, Moreno Valley. Go. Okay, hang on. I'm going to move closer to the house. Just a second. Okay, is that any better? Okay. Is that better? Sorry, again, it's my first time. Hey, Australia, Caribbean, Chicago. All right, so all right. You know what? Let me just completely move this all together. I'm How's that? Better? Okay, lighting's terrible, but that's okay. All right, so I guess I'm going to have to get a network extender. So the reason I wanted to do this is I've been, like I said, we've been getting a lot of new viewers, and I was trying really hard in the past to answer every question, every comment that came in. And it's almost impossible to do that now with so many new viewers and trying to get 3 videos out a week. So that's what this is for. So what I'm going to do in this live stream is I have 7 or 8 questions that have been the most questions, the most asked questions over the past 2 years. And then in between those questions, I'm going to take your questions as well. So I'm going to start off with the most asked question of the past 2 years. Okay, everyone's saying good, good, it's better. I know the lighting's terrible here. I'll plan better for next time, I promise. So the number 1 question over the past 2 years was, of course, on that tomato video, and was all about aspirin. So I'm going to answer this question, and then I'm going to open up the chat. And when you ask a question, wait till I get done with this so I can see it. But type question before your question so I can see that it's a question, because the chat is flying by. So about the aspirin, the biggest question, and I've probably answered it 200 times or more, was how often you apply the aspirin spray. And you apply the aspirin spray every couple of weeks. And then there was also a question as to, if I was saying the whole video, don't get the leaves wet, don't get the leaves wet, try to avoid that. And then I'm putting aspirin spray, which is water, and it's wetting the leaves. So it's kind of like when you take medicine. There are risks and there are benefits, and you have to weigh the risks with the benefits. So if the risks are, we can't get the leaves wet, but the aspirin is actually helping with the leaves getting wet from rain, from splashback, then it's okay to do that. Another question about the aspirin was why uncoated? And the only reason that is, I know it's hard to find, but uncoated aspirin or coated aspirin, the coating they put on the aspirin actually will gum up your sprayer nozzle. So that's the only reason for that. So I hope that answered the aspirin question. Let's open it up now for other questions. If I don't answer your question, it's probably because I'm going to be talking about it a little bit later. But let's go ahead and open up the chat for questions, and I'll try to, if I don't know the answer, because I don't know everything, that's for sure, I'll let you know that. All right, so do you have any, here we go. Bernie, do you have any experience with growing tomatoes from suckers? I will plant my first cuttings this year. I'm really impressed how simple and fast it is to turn suckers into plants. Yes, tomatoes root really easily in water. You can take off maybe a 5-inch new growth, cut it off, takes most of the leaves off, just leave a couple at the top, put it in a glass of water. Now, I don't do a lot of sucker rooting just because I don't have the space. But if you get new plants growing and we're already removing the suckers, if you're pruning the way I prune them, if you have more space, absolutely. It's really easy to do, and you can get way more free plants that way. I just don't do it because I don't have the space. Let's see, another question. Okay, best tomatoes to grow in an apartment and a grow light. I'm going to be getting to that. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about in just a minute. Aphids are attacking my garden and I can't get them to go away. Yes, aphids are a problem. One thing you can do that doesn't involve anything extra is just spraying them off with a hose. A lot of times that will drown them. They will just die. They might come back eventually, but I just spray off the plants that are okay being sprayed. Not tomatoes. I wouldn't use a hose on tomatoes, but that will get rid of a lot of aphids. You can also use neem oil. That's my go-to spray for just about everything. Neem oil is wonderful. So definitely stock up on the neem oil because it's going to help you with aphids. It's going to help you with spider mites, all kinds of stuff. All right, let's see. What if someone is allergic to aspirin? I've been asked that question, and I don't know the answer to that. I really don't think the aspirin ends up in the fruit, but I can't be 100% sure. What is the best spacing for bush beans if you're in a climate where you're not able to start them outside? I would say spacing for bush beans, you can plant them pretty close. They only get maybe 8 to 10 inches wide, sometimes even less. When I was growing bush beans, I packed them in pretty well because they don't take up a lot of space at all. What type of soil do I use for my vegetables? So most of my vegetables are grown in raised beds, as you know, and I use Kellogg's Organic Raised Bed Mix. In the beginning, I wasn't sure if that was a widespread. I thought it was maybe just a local thing. It was at Home Depot, but I've heard from many viewers that you can get that at least nationwide at Home Depot, and that's a good one. All right, grubs in raised beds. Yes, grubs they're really good actually in your compost. Hold on, what? Okay, I'll get that next. Let me pause the chat for a second. So grubs, they actually do some good in your compost. They help break down things, but they also in your raised beds or ground will tend to eat the roots. I haven't had a lot of problem with damage that they cause, but I do have a lot of grubs. That's where chickens come in really handy. If you put chickens out there, chickens love them and they will scratch them out and they will eat them. Other than hand picking them out, I'm not sure what you can do. I haven't really, like I said, had a bunch of damage from it, but it can be a problem. Okay, so Emily, my wife Emily is on she's the moderator for today, and she said that I missed a question about the size of raised beds. Mine are 4 by 10.
No. She wants to do 8 tomato in the tomato plants.
Oh, so the spacing for 8 tomato plants, I would say if you're going to prune them like me, about 18 inches, 12 to 18 inches apart, you can get away with that. If you're not going to prune them, then you need a good 2 to 3 feet spacing between. Okay, let me get into the next question, and I'll come back to your questions. A huge one was squirrels and the problems that you have with squirrels in the garden. Do you guys have that problem? I've heard from a lot of people. Now, you've probably seen in my own videos squirrels running across this back fence. I mean, it's like a squirrel highway back there. Now, fortunately, knock on wood, I haven't had too much of a problem with them in my vegetables. They do eat some of my berries that are against the fence, and they do eat the banana leaves as they come out in the spring. So I have to wrap the banana leaf in chicken wire in the spring until the leaves get big enough. They also bury macadamia nuts in the lawn, but I haven't had them in the vegetable garden. However, there's a few things that you can try. They have sprays made for squirrels that they contain predator urine, so it keeps them away. They don't want to get near that predator. Cayenne pepper sprinkled on plants. I've heard that from a lot of people that works really well. For fruit and fruiting vegetables in your garden, if you have a really bad problem, you can use netting, like fruit tree netting. I would stay away from the plastic netting if possible, because that it's really hard to use. It gets tangled up, it breaks. If you can find a good fabric netting to invest in, that will last for a long time. If you have a really bad problem, then you want to attract predatory wildlife, and you can put in a barn owl house or a predator perch where you can attract owls, and they can maybe take care of some of the issues for you. That's for all rodents, by the way. Okay, let me go back to the questions. Yeah, ants are a problem for me as well. I've used diatomaceous earth. Sprinkle that around where you don't want the ants to be, or if you create like a barrier, or you can also use baking soda, I've heard. And I just recently heard after my coffee ground video that people are using coffee grounds to deter ants. Never tried it. I might give that a try. If you've had a successful ant remediation program, leave that in the comments for us to see, because so far I haven't found something that's 100% effective. How do you get rid of leaf miner? Yeah, that can be a big problem. Leaf miner is a pest. If you notice, maybe like on my peppers, they get a lot. You'll see little tracks on the leaf. They're little like lines all the way through it. It kind of makes like a mosaic pattern. And they're actually little tiny bugs that are between the layers of the leaf. So they're not on the outside. So they are hard to deal with. Neem oil is a good preventative. But once I get them bad, it's really hard to get rid of them without taking out the whole plant so it doesn't spread. Okay, raised beds, how deep are they? So my raised beds are 4 by 10. You don't want to make a bed that's more than 4 feet wide, because it allows you to reach the middle without stepping in the bed. Now, the depth of the bed, most vegetables are not going to need more than an 8 to 12 inch root depth. My beds are 12 inches. Some people have said 6 inches is okay. I like 8 to 12. But more than that really is just going to be unused space and more soil that you have to buy that really isn't going to be used. All right, so what? Okay, Emily's telling me I got a super chat From Michelle Kempton. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. For my favorite niece and nephew. Thank you, Haley and Tyler. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back up here. Borax for ants. Yes, I've heard that as well. All right. If you guys could type question in all caps in front of your question, that's going to help me to see where there's a question. While we're waiting for that, let's go on to the next one. This is a really fun one because it involves these two plants back here. If you see this one right here that's red and this one that has the yellow trumpets, I get asked that anytime they're in the background. Several people ask what those are. The red one is called Iracine herbstii. It's bloodleaf. It's a great plant if you live in a mild winter climate. It looks like that all winter. There's a squirrel right there. Look at that. And then the one up here is Brugmansia. And that is also, thank you so much, Bernie, for that super chat from Austria. Great to have you here. Thank you so much. The Brugmansia is actually beautiful. It is toxic, however. In fact, I've got a really interesting story. A couple of years ago, I was pruning it, and I got some of the juice from the branches in my eye. And it didn't sting. I knew it was toxic, so I was a little worried, but nothing was happening. About a half an hour later, that eye was completely blurry. I couldn't see anything. I went in the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and my pupil was huge. Called poison control, and they said that is the same plant or the same family of plants that optometrists, when they dilate your eyes, that's what it's made from. So a couple hours later, it went back to being fine. But those are great plants if you live in mild climates. If you don't, this one can be overwintered through cuttings. It roots very well. That one would have to be taken inside. Okay, let's go back to the questions. Do I have a video for square foot gardening with companion plants? I don't have one for square foot gardening necessarily. I just did one, a month ago about companion plants. So definitely check that out. Large container suggestion for squash. Okay. Well, I'm just going to answer that right now. I was going to wait till later, but one of my questions here, a lot of people ask about container growing, whether you don't have a lot of space or you want more space. Container growing is very popular. And so today I'm actually going to be filming tomorrow's Self-Sufficient Sunday video, and that is going to be self-sufficiency in containers. So hopefully that will answer all your questions. So definitely stay tuned for that. Let's see. So a problem with sandy or wet soil. So I used to live about 2 blocks from the beach, and we had almost 100% sand in our garden. And there's only 2 options really for that. And number 1 would be to amend the soil with as much organic material as you possibly can, compost, aged manure. You want to bulk up that soil with organic material that's going to hold the moisture in, because with sand, it just pours right through. You have to water a couple of times a day. In California, that's no good. As far as wet soil, overly wet soil, it depends what it's caused from. If it's rain, lots of rain, then you're just going to have to let it dry out. You can turn the soil and expose it to air to dry that out. If it's chronically wet, there's not a lot you can do about that other than find plants that love wet areas or build raised beds. Unfortunately, that's really the only thing there. All right, so I got another super chat from Paulia Wells. Paulia, thank you so much. Paulia gave me some great advice doing this live chat, which I wanted to follow it to the letter. Unfortunately, we still had some problems, but it wasn't because of anything that you said or didn't say. It's just I had problems with my camera and a neighbor. But Paulia, thank you so much. I appreciate that support. Chickens are scratching up my garden. Yes. As I said in the chicken video, the neighbor's got the blower on. Hopefully that stops soon. As I said in the chicken video, chickens can be great in your garden. They can, if it's the right time of year, they can do a lot of the scratching and digging for you, getting those grubs. If it's the wrong time, they can scratch out seedlings. They can rip apart your plants. So my chickens only get to free range when I'm there to oversee them. When I'm working in the garden, I will let them out, and that's the time they get. I'm out there a lot, so they get quite a bit of time. Thank you, Steve, for that super chat. Hope you're healthy. Thanks for doing what you do. Well, I do appreciate that. Yes, I'm staying healthy as far as the virus is concerned. If you're asking about my aneurysm issue, I'm feeling much better. I have an MRI this Wednesday to find out kind of the status and what's going on. So I'll keep you all updated on that. You guys have been great, really keeping up with that and asking me how I'm doing, and I appreciate that so much. Living in Florida, when is the best time for potatoes? So Florida is similar to us, except you are a little more hot and humid in the summertime. So I would say as soon as your last frost date is passed, which I'm sure by this point, yeah, you're well past that, get them in the ground. You might be getting to the point where it's too late, but it's always worth a try if you've got them. All right, let me go back to the questions. Okay, so a big problem lately has been the availability of seeds. Everybody in the world is wanting to grow their own food now with the virus happening and the quarantines. And yeah, a lot of companies are selling out. I checked this morning, and M.I. Gardner, Callie Kim, and Baker Creek still have seeds available. And so obviously, yeah, they're going to be limited. So, go there and find out what you can get. I'm going to be doing a video on saving seeds toward the end of the year. So hopefully that will help all of us in this situation. 2 more super chats. Gary, I got 4 more super chats. Let me scroll up here. Okay, did I miss one past Steve? Oh, here we go. Gary, thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. You're welcome, Gary. And I know you are super active in the comments, and you're always supportive and offering encouragement. I appreciate that so much. And Robin, $20 super chat. Thank you so much. How do you prevent mold around seedlings in the house? They are growing in seedling mix in the red cups you suggested, which I love. Thank you for all the information. Okay, so that's one of the things that Tammy, if you've been watching our series, which we had to put on hold because of the virus, she was having that issue as well. And a lot of that happens because of cold and moisture. So there's 2 things you can do there. Number 1, water from the bottom. And so instead of misting your plants, what you can do is set them in a tray of water, and that water will wick up from the bottom, and it will keep the top from being completely soaked all the time. Another thing you can do is heat up the area with a heat mat. And I have links on my seedling video to the heat mat. So if you want to get those, they're very affordable. They do make a lot of things sprout faster, and they keep some of that mold down. I hope that answered that question. Let's see, did I miss another one? Georgia Mendoza, thank you for that super chat. And Carrie Gonzalez, I appreciate that very much. Okay, let me get back to the questions. Did I miss another one? Oh, black spots on your tomatoes. Try that aspirin mixture. That's going to help with the black spots. There's several reasons of cause for black spots, but usually it's a viral thing, and the aspirin will help with that.
Yes, John, please.
John, yes, I will do that. Let me do that right now. She's overwhelmed. This is our first time. You are a moderator now, John. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Okay, back to the questions. So I answered the question about seeds. I texted Callie Kim a couple of days ago, and she said she still does have stock in seeds. So check hers. CallieKimGardenandHome.com, I believe, is her website address. Okay, question number 5. Yellow plant leaves. Why are my plant leaves turning yellow? And that's a very common question. It's actually a very common thing that happens. It can be caused by a few things. Probably the most common reason is overwatering. It's really important not to overwater. If you look at the top of the ground and you see that it's dry, that is probably okay usually, because that top end dries out pretty quickly. It's below that we have a problem, because if you want to use the finger test and stick your finger down about 2 to 3 inches to make sure it's moist down there. And if it is, don't water. Now, if it's fine and you're not overwatering, then it could be a lack of iron, which is a common one, a lack of magnesium and nitrogen. So you want to add a balanced organic fertilizer. Fish and kelp is great. Kelp has a lot of iron, and maybe some Epsom salts for magnesium. 2 more super chats. Nana Rose, thank you for all you do for us, and thanks, Emily, for sacrificing time with Brian as he provides this service for us. Nana Rose, you've been so supportive. I know you're a pretty new viewer, but you've been so supportive since you started watching in the comments. I appreciate that so much, and thank you for the super chat. And then Lynn, thank you for that super chat of $5. Hi, the little plastic round grips to hold the tomato plants along the strings. Where do you buy them, please? You said around Quebec. Okay. If you go back to that original tomato video that I did last May, I have a link to those clips in the description. That should be still active. Am I missing something? Sylvania Flooring. Ford, thank you for the super chat. Advice about planting Nicotiana tobacco, Chicago. Thanks, Nick. I've never grown that. I do know it's got beautiful flowers, and I know that it attracts pests away from other plants. If anybody knows about that or has grown it, I have thought about growing it. I have not done that. So if anybody has an answer to that, look it up, or let them know, and I will look it up actually and get back to you. If you want to, I'll look up I can probably comment on this back after the video is archived.
Oh, that's okay.
Where is she? Oh, okay, Paulia, here we go. I'm gonna make you a moderator too. Thank you guys for all the support.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Okay, back to the questions, or did I answer questions yet? Have you tried? Let's see here. How often should I fertilize carrots and celery? Carrots and celery just get a basic feeding from me every 2 to 3 weeks. I use Fish and Kelp. Neptune's Harvest is the brand I use, and so I would say every couple of weeks is good for that. They aren't huge feeders. I think cool season plants in general don't feed as heavily as warm season, so hope that helps. My next question here on my list is about squash bugs and squash vine borers. Now that seems to be a problem for a lot of people, and knock on wood, that has not been a problem for me. We don't get vine borers here in California, so that's good. The squash bugs, I have seen them, but I seem to get them taken care of pretty easily with the neem oil. Again, that's my go-to for just about everything other than caterpillar type worms that are eating plants, which I use BT, and I'm not going to pronounce that name, but it's like, well, just look up BT for caterpillars if you have that problem. So neem oil for the squash bugs. Now for the vine borers, even though I don't have those here in California, I did do a video about them. It was a squash pest and disease video about 2 years ago. So definitely check my channel for that, because that gives several ways to take care of those, because I know those are a problem. Okay, back to the questions. Let's see here. Sorry, hold on a second. I'll get rid of somebody. Okay.
I just did it.
I think you did it again. Hiding for good. Okay. Do you line your raised beds with styrofoam or something to keep water from leaching out? Yes, I do. I did 2 videos on my raised beds. Watched the most recent one from last year that did an update of things I didn't like originally. And so what that is a food grade, or not food grade, but safe plastic that's not going to leach into the soil. There is a link on my potato video from a month or so ago to find, there's a link in the description on what plastics are safe to use in the garden. So definitely check into that. But I do have plastic on the sides and the bottom of my raised beds with holes poked in the bottom for drainage. Let's see. Okay. Are chickens high maintenance? They probably can be. For me, and when I get into, let's see, I think 1 week from tomorrow, I'll be doing another Self-Sufficient Sunday video about chickens. I'm going to give you a tour of my coop. Now, the way I have it set up with 3 chickens, I only have to feed and water them every month, 3 weeks to a month. So other than getting the eggs and letting them out and have some fun, they aren't high maintenance at all. Now, when they're chicks, right now, we're going through that process. They're getting to the point where they're kind of outgrowing their box. So I'm trying to get them outside a little bit more before they will go out into the coop in about 2.5 weeks. If you don't want that kind of problem, you can also buy pullets, which are chickens that are kind of ready to be in the coop. They don't have to be under a heat lamp or anything. They can go right in. They will lay faster. So, but overall, no, they're not high maintenance at all. They're great addition to the garden for the eggs, for the manure, eating your garden scraps. I mean, it's just, they're great. I think they're the perfect companion for gardening. Okay. Go back to our questions here. Okay, well, my next one was gardening in containers. We already went over that. There was a little addition to that, which is gardening indoors. Now, I am lucky enough to live in a climate where we pretty much can grow outdoors all year round. A lot of people are not. And so I always get questions about growing indoors, and I haven't up to this point ever used a grow light for anything other than starting seedlings, which is a bit of a different type of grow light. It does not need to be as powerful as if you were growing a tomato plant indoors. So I actually, out of the blue, had a company contact me who is a grow light company a couple of weeks ago. They're going to send me, or actually I just got it. They sent me a really nice grow light. So on Tuesday, for Tomato Tuesday, I'm going to be starting the process of growing tomatoes indoors. So I'm really excited about that. I'll go over kind of what I think of the product, and we're going to test it out together and just kind of see over the season if I get a good harvest of tomatoes, because how fun would it be in the middle of December, January to have fresh tomatoes growing in your house? I think that would be awesome. So we're going to try that together and see how it goes. Oh, okay. We have a question from Jamaica. I didn't see it, but they caught it, and they it was about putting shade cloth, I'm guessing, on the tomatoes. Should it be on top or all over? So shade cloth on tomatoes, maybe a 30 to 50% shade cloth in really hot climates. I'm assuming Jamaica is one of those. On the hottest days or the hottest part of the day, throw that shade cloth over, top, sides, it doesn't matter. It's just going to protect them a little bit from that hottest point in the day, because tomatoes, when they are above 85, 90 degrees, they will start dropping their flowers, which means a pause in fruit production. All right, let's see over here. More questions. You see another question for me? Okay. Okay, about tomato splitting, that's a big problem. That's really an unevenness in the watering is the main reason. So if you think about us as humans, if we all of a sudden gain 50 pounds, we're probably going to get stretch marks in our skin. And so it's the same with tomatoes. They're relatively comfortable. If you aren't watering them well, they're going to be comfortable with that spot that they're at. But if all of a sudden you water them heavily after a spell of not watering them, they're going to suck up a bunch of moisture, and it's going to split those skin because the skin can't grow fast enough. So that's where you're going to get the splitting problem. Now, tomatoes that split are still edible. They don't look as good, and you got to cut that part off because a lot of times you'll get mold or fungus in those splits, but they're still safe to eat. Just cut that part off. All right. Question. Do you grow beans all year round? I don't grow beans all year round. I might be able to. I did see a couple of other YouTube gardeners in California who had them growing in February. I haven't tried it. I switched to peas in the winter, but it's worth a try. I mean, beans are really easy to sprout, so maybe try sprouting some in October, November, and just see what happens. I did have some beans come up in my compost heap in the winter time. I'm not really sure what happened to those. It was a couple years ago. Okay. All right, so back to the next question. Okay, so this is a big one. Did I have a super chat? Where is that? Thumbbuster, thank you so much for the super chat. How do we get rid of pill bugs? I don't have that answer. I don't have a problem with pill bugs. However, if I'm going to write his name down because I want to make sure I do get the answer. I'm going to try to research that. If anybody else has the answer, definitely put that under here. But I appreciate the super chat, and I will find that answer for you. Thumbbuster. Okay, so here's the next thing, and it was the last subject that I had, but it was a big question over the last couple of weeks because a big video was on the tomato hooks. Is anybody still interested in those tomato hooks? A lot of you are, and probably still are. So I talked with the manufacturer the other day, and we seem to still be on track for May. They have had some staffing issues with the virus, but they seem to be pretty confident that May is still a go. Now, I did have some viewers who were upset that I didn't give out the name of the company or the brand. And at this time, there's no way to buy these hooks as a home gardener. They strictly are for commercial use. You could go to their website. You wouldn't be able to buy them. Lots of yeses. Yes, yes, yes. We're all interested in those. You wouldn't be able to buy them on the website, but you could contact them on the website. And I just didn't want to inundate them, especially now when they're understaffed with all kinds of questions about, when and how and all of that. So it was a professional courtesy that I just, I didn't want to mention their name because they are busy right now. And I'd rather have them spend their time getting those hooks ready for us than answering a bunch of questions. So I hope not too many people were offended by that. Let's see, but they do have good news for us. A lot of people internationally were asking if they're going to ship outside of the United States, and they are setting up with Amazon right now so that they will be able to ship internationally. So that's really great news. And they're going to be giving us a limited time discount for you guys. The details aren't hashed out yet on that, but there's something that is going to be worked out. So I do appreciate everybody's comments and views on that video. I'm really excited about, really using them this year, and I know you guys are too. All right, so I'm going to go back into the questions. I think that was the last one I had. Yeah. So I'm going to take a few more questions, and then we're going to end the live stream for today. This won't be the last one, and the next one I hope will be much smoother sailing. Okay. Yeah, better warn them of all the rush orders. Yes, they have watched that video, and they did see how many people were excited, so I think they will be ready for that. Okay, growing chayote or coyote, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I've never grown that before. I think that's that green, I think it's like a Mexican fruit, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't grown that before. Again, if you could put question in front of your question, because scrolling back is torture here, right? It's hard to see. Did I get a super chat? Okay, let me go to that real quick. Is that chicken lips too? I love that. Thank you for the super chat. I am in Southern California. I am between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, about 15, 20 minutes from the coast. Will the onions left from last year be okay? Some are really soft. If they're soft, Probably not. Definitely not for the bulb. You probably could still use the tops as green onions though. Do I keep the soil loose? Sorry, that went past. You know, I watch live streams all the time and I don't understand why they're getting so confused. This is confusing. A lot of thank yous. I thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate that. When do I dig up my garlic? So that's going to be probably, well, at least in my area, it's been growing all winter and probably early summer is when we're going to harvest that. And I will do a video on that because I know if you've been watching me, I did an experiment where, you know, we don't get the cold winters here, which is going to cause a lot more of the cloving to happen on the garlic bulb. And so one of the pieces of advice people give is to put it in the refrigerator for 6 weeks before planting. So I planted some right away and I also put some in the fridge. And so I will be doing a video on digging those up and seeing if the fridge method is necessary. But summer is the time to harvest. Can you put straw over seeds that have not yet, I'm guessing that's sprouted? A thin layer might be okay. You just don't want a thick mat because they won't be able to get through it. Soaker hose versus drip. Okay, that's a great question because I used to use soaker hoses and I didn't feel that they got an even watering. I felt like at the beginning of the hose, things got flooded, and at the end of the hose, they stayed dry. So last year, I guess, I put in drip and I have loved it. It's been one of the best decisions I've made. I did a video on that last summer. So if you're interested in doing drip, I would highly recommend it, especially in a climate like ours that is very warm and dry in the summertime. Okay, the diaper polymers in the soil. I only use those in containers. I don't use them in my raised beds. And I do, so when I plant up a new container, even if it had the polymers from last year, I do still mix some more into the soil as I kind of reinvigorate the soil with some compost and some new. And you can do that. You don't have to empty out your containers every year and start fresh with new soil. You can, you know, maybe take out a third of it, add in a third new, put in some organic fertilizer, and if you want to use those polymers, you could refresh those on a yearly basis. How concerned should I be about rain for my tomatoes on my roof in containers? Worried about the leaves. You know, unfortunately, there's not a foolproof way other than growing in a greenhouse to protect them from rain. So my biggest advice would be to prune them like I showed in that video last year, and I'll be doing another Tomato Tuesday on pruning and staking. That's going to increase the airflow. If you have a ton of leaves, it's going to hold the moisture in and shade other leaves so they can't be dried off. So definitely pruning and using that aspirin mixture from that video as well should help, because there's just no way to keep the rain off without a greenhouse. And I would venture to say most people don't have one of those. I know I don't. Prim's Garden in the Philippines. You're up. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Wow. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you for your support. I do remember you supporting me in comments as well on all my videos. So thank you. And you can go to sleep in just a few minutes. And Emily said a special thank you, and I thank you to the impromptu moderators that we've got that volunteered and are helping. We will get this under control eventually. I've been nervous to do a live stream for all other reasons besides the ones that are popping up today. So thank you. Malto meal for ants. Interesting. Okay. What soil amendment perlite do I use to keep the soil loose for tomato growth? Well, perlite's a great one. Perlite, vermiculite. When I'm doing, if I'm making my own planting mix, which I do a lot, I use 2 parts sustainable peat or coco coir to 1 part perlite. And so a third of it basically is perlite, and that is for drainage. So perlite is probably my favorite. That's what I use. You can use sand, but sometimes that gets a little heavy and compact. All right. I'm going to take 2 more questions here. Let's see. Aphids on my roses. Currently trying distilled vinegar and water mix. Any other natural options? Like I mentioned earlier, the neem oil is my go-to for everything other than caterpillars. It takes care of most things that are chewing your plant. One thing on the neem oil, because my last video was on pollinators, typically bees are not bothered by neem oil. Still, because it is for chewing insects. So if you spray a bee, then that might be an issue. But if you just have it on the plant and they don't chew the leaves, and that's where the neem oil can help. Also, it coats the insects. So if you're not spraying the bees directly, bees will be fine. You do want to, if at all possible, spray early in the morning before the bees come out, or late in the evening before they, or after they've gone back to their hives, just as a precaution. But typically, from what I've done on my research, doesn't harm bees, especially after the plant has been sprayed and they show up. Okay, one more question. Okay.
Recommended organic fertilizers. New subscriber is Alexandra, and they want to see Boomer.
Alexandra. Okay, want to see Boomer. Let me get Boomer. And Noah will bring Boomer over. And recommended organic fertilizers. Well, I have been using for years Neptune's Harvest liquid fish and seaweed. I think it's a great product. Here's Boomer. Say hello. It's a great product, and I use that all summer, every couple of weeks on just about everything. It's also good as a foliar feed if you want to put it in a spray with the aspirin. Exciting news. I actually, like I said, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I use Neptune's Harvest. I've been using it for a long time. Out of the blue, I thought I'm going to contact them and see if I could set something up where we could get a discount for my viewers. And they actually love the idea. So I've been talking with them about that. They have a bunch of products that I didn't even know about. That they have a new tomato and vegetable formula, so I'm excited about that one. But here's what we're going to do with them. And I'm not ready to announce everything yet because it's not all set in stone, but pretty much. We are going to be doing not only discounts, free shipping, but also we're going to do either 1 or 2 giveaways. And the giveaways are going to be a $300 value of their product. So definitely stay tuned for that because it's a great product. All their products, I've done, so much talking with them and I've done so much research. Now that I'm thinking of recommending them even more, it's a great family company, which is important to me. I'm a small business owner. And so anytime I can support small business, family businesses, especially now, I think that's a great thing. But if you guys have used Neptune's Harvest in the past, let us know what you think of it. I know it's a great product. I'm excited to offer it as a discount very soon and get some of those giveaways out to you guys. So I thank everyone. I'm seeing tons of thank yous, and I appreciate it so much. I never expected, especially the amount of support and following that we've gotten just in this last couple of months. I know the world is in a crazy situation right now, and we're all thinking about growing our own food and being a little more self-sufficient. And I hope I can be a little part of that with you guys. And I thank everybody for watching and supporting and just continuing to be part of this community. Some of the most rewarding things for me is reading your comments. Unfortunately, I don't have time to get back to everybody now, but I do read them and I do heart them. So that I did read them, and I keep those coming. And what I also love is you guys becoming a community and talking back and forth in the comments and giving your own suggestions and help. And that's just amazing to me. So anyway, I want to end this live stream. Yes, we started out with a few hiccups, but I've enjoyed the time that we've had together. And again, tomorrow is Self-Sufficient Sunday. and we're going to be doing self-sufficiency in containers, so stay tuned for that. And then Tuesday, Tomato Tuesday, we'll be growing tomatoes indoors with grow lights a try, and see how it goes. So thank you everybody again. Give the video a like, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.